Hey everyone, and welcome to another deep dive. Today we're talking about something everyone has an opinion on, something I know you guys have been requesting for a while, the science of attraction.
Oh, yeah, this is a good one.
Yeah, and I think it's safe to say we're all looking for a little insight into this, Bryce.
Absolutely. There's a lot to unpack here.
For sure, for sure. So let's dive right in. We've done our homework, got a ton of fascinating research lined up, all about the hows and the whys of attraction, like what's really going on in our brains and bodies when we feel that pull towards someone. Speaking of pull, one of the things we're digging into is this whole idea of chemistry in relationships. Is it a real thing or just, a bunch of poetic fluff? Where do we even start with something as big as attraction?
Well, it's funny you use the word big because attraction really is this massive combination of things. It's not just one thing. It's like this. Think of it like a perfectly crafted cocktail. You've got your psychology, a good splash of biology, and maybe even a dash of sociology for good measure.
Ooh, I like that. A cocktail of attraction.
Right. And research tells us that there are all these specific cues that our brains are basically hardwired to pick up on. Like we've got the obvious one, physical appearance, which, let's be real, that's often what makes the first impression. But then you've also got things like proximity, meaning how physically close you are to someone.
So, like someone you see at the coffee shop every day versus someone you meet once at a party.
Exactly. Then there's similarity. Do your values align? Shared interests? These things matter. Oh, and we can't forget reciprocity. Is the feeling mutual?
Because pining after someone who doesn't feel the same back, that's a whole other deep dive.
Exactly. And then, and this one always fascinates me, even familiarity plays a role. Seeing someone regularly can actually make them more attractive.
Wait, really? That's so interesting. So it's not always about playing hard to get?
Well, we'll get to that myth in a bit, but you're definitely onto something.
Okay, back to this proximity thing. I'm still wrapping my head around that. You think being too close would have the opposite effect, right?
It seems counterintuitive,
Right.
right? But think about it. Proximity leads to familiarity. We tend to feel more at ease, more comfortable around people we see often. It's like a trust builds over time.
That makes a lot of sense. It's like that old saying, familiarity breeds.
Mm.
Well, not contempt, but attraction.
Exactly. You get it.
Okay, I need the expert to weigh in on this one because honestly, this is the question I'm always asked. We've all heard it. We've all probably said it. Chemistry. That undeniable spark between two people. Is it real or are we all just a bunch of hopeless romantics?
Okay, so chemistry might sound like it belongs to a romance novel, but there's actually some serious biology behind it.
Get out of here. Really?
Oh, yeah. I'm talking about a whole cascade of hormones that come into play. You've got dopamine, which is often called the reward chemical, and that's what gives us that addictive feeling, especially in the early stages of attraction.
Okay, so that's why it feels so good to be around someone you're really into.
Exactly. Then there's norepinephrine, which is all about that heightened focus, making you hyper aware of, well, everything about the other person. Remember that heart racing, can't eat, can't sleep feeling?
Oh, yeah, been there.
That's norepinephrine in action. And we can't forget about serotonin. Now, this one plays a role in mood and, get this, obsession. Ever feel like you can't get someone off your mind?
More than I care to admit.
That, my friend, is often serotonin at work.
Whoa! It's actually kind of mind-blowing to think that all these invisible forces are basically running the show. Like, we think it's us making the decisions, but really it's all hormones.
Well, it's not quite that simple. It's more like our biology is laying the groundwork, setting the stage, and then our thoughts, experiences, all of that comes into play too.
Okay, that makes me feel a little less like a puppet, I guess.
Yeah.
So with all this talk about biology, hormones, shared values, what about that classic saying, opposites attract? How does that fit into all of this?
Ah, the age-old question. It's a fun idea, no doubt. And sure, there's definitely some initial intrigue when you meet someone who's different from you. But if we're really looking at the research, generally, it leans towards similarity being a stronger factor in long-term attraction.
So birds of a feather flock together.
Exactly. Think about it. When you share core values, when you're genuinely interested in the same things, when you have shared experiences, it creates a strong foundation of understanding, right? That shared ground is so important.
It's like you're speaking the same language, even if you're different in other ways.
Right. It's not to say that differences can't be exciting, but often that initial spark can fizzle if there's no real substance underneath.
That makes a lot of sense. So we've tackled chemistry, we've busted the myth of opposites attract, but I know there are other misconceptions out there about attraction. What are some of the more common ones you've come across?
Oh, there are so many myths out there, it's hard to keep track. But one big one is this whole playing hard to get idea.
Oh, tell me about it.
While a bit of mystery can be intriguing in the beginning, genuine interest and responsiveness go a long way in building attraction.
So no more pretending I don't like getting texts back quickly.
Exactly. Being authentic is key.
Music to my ears. What else? What other myths are we busting today?
Let's see. Oh, here's another big one. This idea that there's one perfect person out there for everyone. This soulmate myth.
Ooh, yeah, that one's a classic.
Right. In reality, there are probably many people with whom you could potentially build a fulfilling and loving relationship. It's less about finding the one and more about finding someone with whom you truly connect, you have that spark, and you're compatible.
Compatibility versus the one. I like that. It's much less pressure. Wow, this has been eye-opening. I feel like we've covered so much ground. We've talked about hormones, proximity, similarity, busted some myths. It's a lot to process. So if we're going to leave our listeners with one key takeaway, what would it be?
That attraction isn't just one thing. It's this amazing, intricate dance of biology, psychology, proximity, and yes, even a little bit of luck.
Absolutely. So the next time you feel drawn to someone, remember it's not just chance, it's this incredible interplay of factors.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
And on that note, we'll wrap up this deep dive into the science of attraction. Until next time, everyone, keep those brain chemicals bubbling.